One of the most celebrated performances of last year was from Rose Byrne in the film If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. And while that may be true, it seems like the actual movie is much less talked about. Is there a reason why? I'm Brad and this is Watch Rate Heart, and let's review this film.
Nothing is familiar or real, ever. Every time I feel this way, I get further and further away from being in myself, and I can never get back.
Written and directed by Mary Bronstein, this is the dark psychological comedy drama If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, starring Rose Byrne, Conan O'Brien, A$AP Rocky, and Christian Slater. And before I get to the scores, just to let you guys know, these scores are as of February 4th, 2026, and they are likely to change. There's a Letterboxd score of 3.7 out of 5, an IMDb of 6.7 out of 10, Rotten Tomatoes of 91% fresh, and Metacritic of 77. As for accolades, there's one Oscar nomination, that's for Best Actress for Rose Byrne, and one BAFTA nomination, that is also for Best Actress for Rose Byrne. I gotta say, after I was done with If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, I had this overwhelming feeling that maybe I've just lost all, human emotion at a certain point. Because I kept hearing about this film and how gutting and how, brutal this film is. And at the end, I didn't really feel much of anything. Now, bear in mind, though, I did feel the unnerving and unsettling and intense nature of the film. A lot of the Letterboxd reviews call this basically a uncut gems about motherhood. And while I didn't feel the intensity and the nervousness in Uncut Gems, even though I did like the film, I definitely felt this throughout If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. And a lot of it has to do with Rose Byrne's performance, which, yes, is excellent in this film. She carries this film on her damn back. A lot of this film is just her on screen. You don't even get to see a lot of the other characters in the film, except for maybe A$AP Rocky and Conan O'Brien in certain parts of the film. She is the entirety of the film, and she is captivating in a lot of these scenes. And just her performance is so raw and visceral that I really had to admit, I really liked her performance. It was really good, and I understand why people are praising this performance. It is excellent. I do praise the film for those things. I do have some big problems with the film. First off, the metaphor and themes of the film are way too damn obvious. A lot of this really has to do with the fact that the film throws in a lot of plot points that I think were unnecessary. This film is about 2 hours long, and I really think if this was pared down to about 80 or 90 minutes, that feeling of nervousness, of unease, could have been sustained for that 90 minutes, and it would have been really good. But on top of the issues that the main character is having with her daughter and her husband not being there, which honestly is enough to make this film feel uneasy and to make you feel for this character. She also has problems with drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and other things that are happening, including her job. I think a lot of that stuff was completely unnecessary. And the reason why I think it's unnecessary too is because a lot of the stuff that was in there are just basically thinly veiled metaphors of what she's going through. There's this entire sequence of events in the film revolving around a mother who is so focused on her kids' well-being that it's driving her crazy. Metaphor much for the main character. And then you have the relationship between her and her therapist, who is played by Conan O'Brien, who does a pretty good job in the film. And then you come to find out she's also a therapist who has the same relationships with her other clients. Really? Does it have to be that obvious? Honestly, if the film kept with the problems that she was having with her daughter, her husband, and her therapist, I think the film would have been great. I think the film would have been great just with that. But because they added all this other stuff, it just seemed like too much. And on top of it being too much, it just made the film less and less effective as the film was going on. The subplot with her and A$AP Rocky's character, I think, was just completely unnecessary. I think a lot of this film had a lot of unnecessary filler. And again, I think 30 minutes could have been cut from it, and it would have been for the film's better. But because it's in there, it weighs the film down to a point where at the end, I just was kind of waiting for it to end. I wasn't on the ride anymore. I really wasn't as invested as I wanted to be. But really, I kind of just felt like the film just added too much into the pot, and it kind of spoiled the soup, I guess is the best way to put it. So that's my opinion of the film, and in every episode of Watch Rate Heart, I not only give you my opinion of the film, I also give you the opinion of the Letterboxd community. And this one's from Greg's 1999. Greg gives it 3.5 stars out of 5 with a heart, and Greg says, well, that was stressful. I wanted the child to shut up so bad. Rose Byrne gave an incredible performance. Her back must have been aching from carrying it. Yeah, absolutely. She just carried the entire film in this. Doesn't look like anyone is a good therapist. Is everyone a bad person? That's the other thing this film makes you feel, is like everyone is just miserable in the film. Honestly, though, Conan O'Brien's character and the doctors that Rose Byrne is dealing with, I kind of sympathize with to a certain extent. But I will say this, it is interesting how I was sympathizing with the main character until I started seeing all the thematics and all the metaphors and going, oh, come on. And then I just kind of gave up on the film to a certain extent. This next review is from Theo. Theo gives it 3 stars out of 5, and Theo says, this is the movie equivalent of waking up panicked from the worst dream ever until you realize it wasn't real. Yeah, that's actually a pretty damn good description. That's a good one, Theo. This next review is from Pizzagate. Oh my god. Pizzagate gives it 4 stars out of 5 with a heart, and Pizzagate says, not what I expected at all. Female uncut gem vibe. The female uncut gems is what I kept seeing on a lot of the Letterboxd reviews. Like, that's the one thing that this film was compared to, and I definitely get it, even though, like I said, the stressfulness of uncut gems is something I just did not feel at all. And finally, this last review is from Robert Stewart. Robert gives it 3 stars out of 5, and Robert has some quick ups and downs, and I'm going to post them right here. Up, he says, Rose Byrne continues to be one of our most talented actresses, and she gives a layered performance here. Absolutely, I agree. The movie is very tense and frantic at points. It really draws you in, and it affects your anxiety as you watch it. I definitely agree for the most part. I think it falls apart. The negatives, the movie makes a choice not to show the daughter until the very, very end. Thematically, I have some suspicions as to why it made that choice, and it's to dehumanize the little girl and make Linda's plight more empathetic. I kind of agree with that, but I'll continue. But ultimately, I found the decision more distracting than anything else. I think showing the girl at the very, very end was a mistake. I think to a certain point that he is right, that to not show the girl was to dehumanize her. I agree with that. But I think it also is to show how all-encompassing her mental health struggles were. Because that's really what, with mental health problems, how it feels. It's very consuming. It is all you think about. And I think the film does a good job showing that. The other negative is there's an ethereal aspect to parts of the film that I never puzzled out as to why it exists. It really did not work for me, though. I actually agree. There's a lot of parts in this film where it's, I guess ethereal is the best way to put it, but it's a lot of weird imagery, a lot of surrealism, and it just does not work at all, for me at least. Overall, Robert says it's good. I'm pretty mixed on the film. I think there's some really good pluses, but I think the minuses really drag it down. So, in review, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You is very unsettling and intense in some very key parts. I do have to give it that. And yes, Rose Byrne is fantastic in this movie. Like, one of the best performances I have seen from her and I have seen in a while. It's a really good performance. That said, the metaphors and themes of the film are way too damn obvious. And I really felt like a good 30 minutes could have been completely cut for the film, and it would have been for its better. Overall, I give If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You 2.5 stars out of 5. I ended up agreeing with what a lot of people say about the film in terms of the performance by Rose Byrne and the unsettling and intense nature of the film, but I ended up being pretty damn disappointed overall. Like I said in the beginning, this is one of those times where I kept thinking to myself, man, is there something wrong with me? Because everyone keeps saying this film is fantastic, and I'm just not feeling it. Let me know in the comments what you think of If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. It is on Max right now. And that is it for this episode of Watch Rate Heart. Before I go, let me ask you a question. Is there a performance you absolutely loved in a movie that you did not love? I'm not going to choose any ones that I've already reviewed on the channel. There's a film called Out of the Furnace that was done in the 2010s. It's with Christian Bale, Casey Affleck, and Zoe Saldana. It's overall a disappointing film for me, but it had a fantastic performance by Woody Harrelson, who played an incredibly scary villain. He was so good in that movie. And the other one I would say is going to be a controversial one because I know people love this film. I think Jackie Earle Haley's performance in Watchmen is really good. I just don't like Watchmen. Jackie Earle Haley's performance as Rorschach is really good in that movie. If you liked any of the reviewers I've highlighted in this episode, you can check out the video description for a link to their Letterboxd profile. And be sure to give them a follow and let them know that Brad from Watch Rate Heart sent you. You can follow me on Letterboxd and X at Watch Rate Heart. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it and share it with your friends. I'm Brad from Watch Rate Heart. Thank you for watching, and remember, we all watch and rate movies, but you give them the heart that makes them live forever.